This episode is brought to you by JLL. Get an insider view into the world of commercial real estate with JLL's podcast, Trends and Insights, the Future of Commercial Real Estate. Whether you're curious about making cities more sustainable, the evolution of office space, or AI opportunities, this podcast will help keep you a step ahead. Tune in for candid conversations with business leaders about the biggest trends impacting how we live, work, and play. Subscribe to Trends and Insights now at jll.com/podcast.
Today on CityCast Philly, we're running down some big headlines in our Tuesday News Roundup. We're talking about your thoughts on Mayor Cherelle Parker's back to office push. Phillies are getting rid of those dollar dog nights, and Women's History Month trivia. It's Tuesday, March 5th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week is CityCast Philly executive producer Laura Benshoff. Hey, Laura.
Good morning, Trenae.
Good morning. And hey, Philly newsletter editor Asha Prihar. Hey, Asha.
Good morning.
All right, let's get into some of the news of the week. So I read in WHYY News that last week, Mayor Cherelle Parker delivered this really big speech at the annual mayoral luncheon hosted by the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia. And at this luncheon, Mayor Parker laid out her taking care of business plan, which, she wants to make the city cleaner and safer. I think she had a line about greener as well, getting people back to work, hiring folks. But it was her plan to bring all city workers back to the office that became like the highlight of this luncheon. And I have to note that recently, Mayor Parker also sent out a memo to all senior level staffers saying they must return back to the office 5 days a week. And that actually starts this week. There's still no timeline exactly on when all 25,000 city workers will return, but this has been like the hot topic buzzing around this week.
Yeah, totally. And it wasn't just city workers, right? She was urging all of these business people to bring their workers back too. So, she's sort of setting this example, right, by bringing back her senior executives. And she's urging, the leaders of the business community to kind of do the same thing, which I think is why a lot of the discussion really kicked off. It's like, oh, this could really happen, like across the city,
Yeah. So since this has been something that seems to be like sort of very much being discussed right now, I actually put a call out in the newsletter to Hey Philly readers to write in and share their thoughts. So I wanted to share a couple of those with you guys on the podcast today. And I will say that overall, the feedback that we've gotten in our inbox is that Hey Philly readers are not so happy about this push for more in-person work and a return to Center City. So I'll kick things off with a comment from Hey Philly reader Alethea G., who pointed out a couple of different concerns. Alethea wrote, "Does this mean more cars on the road? Is it better for the environment to call for a mass full-time return to work? Will companies cover parking? There are many factors to consider for the worker, companies who will experience turnover, single parents, etc. I think this needs to be studied and analyzed, then strategically implemented. All factors need to be considered in order to be successful."
Definitely some interesting points in there. We gained a lot of time. We don't have to commute anymore. And, the question, I think she said something like, will this lead to turnover? Maybe, if people can work remotely and that's more valuable. We heard from, I think, Jake Bloomgard at the Philadelphia Inquirer in one of our recent Friday News Roundup shows that the city's having trouble filling these jobs, filling a lot of its vacancies for these sort of official city of Philadelphia government jobs. And if people are expected to be in the office 5 days a week, recruiters are reaching out and saying, hey, I could maybe offer you a hybrid job. And so will the city lose even more people? Will they have an even harder time filling those positions? It's a really good question.
But I do think that it's important to note, though, that SEPTA has the program that employers can add to the benefits that they offer is like they'll cover people's transportation on SEPTA. So although, having those, morning commutes, more cars and things like that. But I think some, especially the city, will offer some transportation perks to get people back.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. And work-life balance has definitely been one of the themes that's come up among newsletter readers. So like not just like the costs involved with commuting, but the time. So Hey Philly reader Tina C made a comment on this. She wrote in to say that bringing workers back to Center City full-time is a great idea, but only if the work week is reduced from 5 days to 4.
Okay, Tina.
Yeah, okay, Tina.
Go for it.
Tina wrote, Saturday seems to be a day for errands, Sunday a day for church, family, and finishing up errands. The third day needs to be set for rest and rejuvenation and getting ready to work again. Otherwise, no, not a great idea. Mental wellness is important.
Definitely hear that. I don't think anybody's talking about a 4-day work week in Philly. I could be wrong about that. The city's definitely not. But, that point about the trade-offs, you lose that time commuting that you would have to take care of your life. I think a lot of people feel that for sure.
Now, I know that, that 4-day work week has been like a hot topic across the country over the past, few years. And actually, some jobs that are in higher education at major universities, they actually do that 4-day work week, usually like over the summer. So it'll be like an extra hour that you add on to your work week Monday through Thursday so that you can enjoy that Friday off. But that's only through like the summer months, so it's not a lot of time, but that is something that does happen sometimes at universities if you're lucky enough to get a job there.
Sounds pretty good. I've heard of something like that, like summer Fridays. I think some companies have where they let you go early on Fridays. Seems like a nice perk if that's sort of the rhythm of your office,
Yeah. So beyond the work-life balance aspect of it all, there are some other concerns that came up too, also on the topic of SEPTA. One that has come up in several responses to the newsletter is the safety and cleanliness of commuting. So here's a comment from Hey Philly reader Cheryl J, who says she commutes to work in Center City once a week and is concerned about things like people smoking on the subway and her own personal safety on the train as a woman in her 60s. Cheryl wrote, I'm upset because I feel like you want me back in the office, then I need to be able to protect myself. It makes no sense we get more work done from home than getting on the train, risking your life, and then going into work just to come back home. I say clean up the city first and then demand your workers come back into the office.
Interesting. Yeah, a little bit of a chicken and egg situation there, right? Because part of the argument for getting workers back downtown is they'll be taking SEPTA more. There will be more folks on the trains, on the buses. That's kind of more eyes on the street. More regular users of SEPTA might make it feel safer. There's been some efforts to do some more quality of life initiatives on SEPTA, make it a little bit more of an inviting environment again. But people don't want to go back. That perception that it's not safe, the cleanliness issues. I know a lot of people complain about people vaping or smoking on the train. All of that stuff I do think is a legitimate turnoff, and she has a point there.
Yeah, that was feedback from just a couple of Hey Philly readers. If you would like to read more thoughts on the issue, the Hey Philly newsletter will have a segment on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that.
Nice.
All right. More news happening around the city after the break. This is CityCast Philly.
Shipping can make or break a sale, so optimize how you ship your orders with ShipStation. They make it easy to automate and manage orders no matter how big your business grows. And they might even be able to help reduce shipping and warehouse costs. So optimize and keep up your momentum for growth with ShipStation. Sign up for your free 60-day trial now at ShipStation.com and use the code POD. That's ShipStation.com with the code POD.
This new year, it's time to do wellness on your terms. That's where Ollie comes in. Thanks to their delightful gummies, you can actually get a good night's sleep. And you might finally stand a chance of staying focused. Because this is the year of you. Discover Ollie vitamins and supplements. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Now, another big news story of the week so far is that we are saying goodbye to Jason Kelce as a Philadelphia Eagles. He announced this week that he's retiring after 13 seasons with the team. Jason, thank you so much for all that you have done for us as Philly Eagles fans and just the legacy that you'll have. And we talked about 13 Reasons Why We Love Jason Kelce on a Friday News Roundup a few weeks back. So make sure you check that out. That link is in our show notes. All right, another sports story. We're saying goodbye to are the Dollar Dog Nights down at Citizens Bank Park. Laura, tell us about this story.
Yes, you're totally right. So last week it emerged when the Phillies kind of put out their calendar of all the promotions that they run as the baseball season is approaching. And, many eagle-eyed fans and other folks pointed out, hey, there's no Dollar Dog Night on the calendar. This is something that the Phillies have been doing as a promotion for 27 years, often in April. They would have these nights where it's exactly what it sounded like. You could get a hot dog for $1. But they're not doing that anymore. They announced that instead they're replacing that sort of promotion night with buy one, get one free hot dog nights in April. And this has caused a lot of conversation. This promotion, I think, was very well liked. And reporters reached out to the Phillies team management. And according to the Associated Press, the team said this change was made, quote, based on the organization's ongoing commitment to provide a positive experience for all fans in attendance. What that sounds like to me, reading between the lines, is they're tired of people throwing the hot dogs around. So this was another side effect of Dollar Dog Night, is people would kind of load up on hot dogs and then get a little bit rowdy. And there's a lot of videos on X, formerly known as Twitter, of people chucking them at each other, these kind of big stadium-wide food fights. I think maybe that was part of the fun, part of the appeal, but it sounds like they're nixing that. So now, according to a press release from the Phillies, you'll be able to get 2 hot dogs for $5. So $2.50 a dog, still pretty cheap, still a good deal when you're talking about concessions, food when you go out to a ball game is expensive, but definitely kind of the end of an era. And a lot of people were reacting to this. But if you are interested in buy one, get one dog night, those nights this year are going to be April 2nd against the Reds and April 16th against the Rockies. Have either of y'all been to a Dollar Dog Night? Have you experienced this?
Yes. I think what we should probably mention is that the lines to get a hot dog were so long that you missed probably a few innings just waiting in line. So I heard that they're going to, again, take away the $1, but increase it to that $5, but also provide more stands so that the lines aren't as long. And I think that's also
smart.
A positive to the experience, not just chucking the hot dogs, but also have more hot dog stands available and open to fans.
Totally. Makes perfect sense.
Do you guys think that people are still going to throw the hot dogs if they're 2.5 times more expensive?
Yes.
Yes, if we are losing, they're going to be upset. I went to a game last season and we were in section 100, so we were pretty close. Me and the kids were pretty close. And I asked the guy next to him, what's happening right now? I saw all this aluminum foil flying all over. And I said, why are people doing this? He's like, because they can. And I was like, oh, sounds about Philly.
Yeah, I think people will probably still throw some of the hot dogs.
I feel like I would be shocked if it didn't happen, for sure. I feel like it's, at this point, it's just a cultural thing.
Now, the question is, if a hot dog flies in your lap or on your head, are you going to eat it?
Is it wrapped or unwrapped?
But how would you know?
True.
If it's been unwrapped and then wrapped.
If someone opened it and then rewrapped. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like I would err on the side of not eating it.
Good for you.
But I'm sure it's probably fine.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, definitely made some choices there.
Yeah. So, people are really, really upset about Dollar Dog Night being gone. I was visiting some family when the news broke, and my brother came and found me and was like, Dollar Dog Night is dead. And he was just so, he seemed kind of morose about it almost. He's a big Phillies fan, and he's never been, to my knowledge, but he was just so upset. And he's definitely far from alone. I know, I saw in the Philadelphia Inquirer that there's a petition now to reinstate Philly's Dollar Dog Night. And one of the petitioners, this is in the Inquirer's headline, cited their, quote, God-given right for encased meat.
To cost $1.
To cost $1. Yeah, exactly. And it's apparently being, this push is obviously like, you know, fan grassroots, but also like a local TikTok personality, Alex Perlman, has been sort of promoting this petition link with his millions of followers. It's pretty funny if you kind of dig into everything people are saying, but it definitely seems like there's some real sadness behind this and a feeling of kind of like loss of this long running thing. I know as of Friday, the petition had over 6,000 signatures. As of Monday morning, the petition has 16,000 signatures. So the goal apparently is 25,000, according to the change.org page. But yeah, so there are lots of people, like thousands, who are just wanting the dollar dogs, not $2.50 dogs.
But here's the thing, right? This is also coming at a time, like think of the economics here, okay? Like everything is going up.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like in some ways this is like a business decision too, because I mean, we heard in the last, few weeks, like Wendy's is driving their prices up. You know, that used to be like a bargain cheap meal. People that go there were like upset about that. At the grocery store, we see it. We see the price of everything. So I'm not surprised that this came like now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
everything's going to go up. And we all know, like, if you go to the airport, if you go to an amusement park, if you go to the movie theaters, if you go to a sports game, food is going to be so ridiculously priced that it's not even going to make sense to you. But you do it anyway because it's the experience.
Totally. $2.50 is still a good deal.
Now, if it gets crazy where it's like $10, now I'll sign the petition.
We'll be picketing outside the Citizens Bank.
Yeah, like this is like ridiculous. All right, let's have some more fun. Asha, you've got a Women's History Month trivia question for us. I'm excited to play this.
Yeah, so as you guys might know, March is Women's History Month. So throughout this month, I will be quizzing you on some local women's history. So this week, we'll kick off with this question. It has to do with this group that formed in the 1830s called the Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society. It was an interracial activist group, which was very far from universally accepted at the time. And in 1838, the society hosted a national convention for anti-slavery activists, particularly women, at a building called Pennsylvania Hall in Philadelphia. So my question for you guys is, which modern-day museum is located across the street from where that building, Pennsylvania Hall, once stood?
I'm going to say the American Revolution Museum.
No, but you're a little close on geographic area. I would say we're not too far away.
That's a good guess, because that's Old City. What museum is across the street? What other museums are in Old City? Okay. Does like the Constitution Center count as a museum for the purposes of this?
It does.
Is that your answer?
That's my guess.
And you're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Pennsylvania Hall was located on 6th Street, just south of Race Street. The building was specifically for reformers like abolitionists and women's rights activists to sort of have a space to say their piece. But rioters burned it down just 3 days after it first opened for this convention because they were angry that a mixed gender and mixed race gathering was being held there. And it was never rebuilt. But now there is a Pennsylvania historical marker commemorating it right between the American College of Physicians and WHYY's office building. Pretty sad ending for Pennsylvania Hall, but overall, the women behind this cause were pretty resilient people, and they kept advocating for their cause, and they actually ended up hosting the next year's Anti-Slavery Convention of American Women in Philly again, just in a different location. So they persisted, they kept going, they didn't let themselves be intimidated by this, but Pennsylvania Hall did not survive more than 3 days, unfortunately.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
So Pennsylvania Hall was, I'm confused. So it opened and closed in 3 days?
Yeah. So the first event that was held there was this convention it was called the Anti-Slavery Convention of American Women. And it was like this national convention, and it gained a lot of attention, and there were lots of people who were very against it for obviously sexist and racist reasons. And they burned it down just 3 days into the convention. And they sort of throughout the whole convention were sort of standing outside and like intimidating people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I had no idea about this until I started digging into this particular society for a segment that's in Hey Philly today. So you can read more about them on the CityCast Philly website. And if you're interested in even more highlights from Philly's Her Story, make sure you're subscribed to the Hey Philly newsletter, because we're going to be spotlighting a different group, place, or landmark related to women's history every Tuesday this month.
Cool.
Sounds exciting. Thanks, Asha.
Totally.
That was Hey Philly newsletter editor Asha Prihar and CityCast executive producer Laura Benshoff. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
You can read more about the stories mentioned in this episode by checking out our show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Did you get that trivia question? Well, tell a friend and see if they can get it. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.